Over the weekend, 13 Republican governors took a field trip down to the Texas border to show support for Governor Greg Abbott. It was quite a scene in Eagle Pass with the Texas National Guard and military vehicles, along with loads of razor wire. Looked like Texas was about to host a game of extreme Red Rover. This is obviously an embarrassment to the Biden administration and everyone at the federal level, because border security is supposed to be their responsibility. These governors should know the only rule in politics: never outshine Biden. The government is Destiny's Child, and he's our Beyonce. So the folks at the federal level got to work. 3 senators whipped up a $118 billion border security bill. They branded it the Emergency National Security Supplemental Appropriations Act. Ooh, supplemental. With sexy branding like that, it's got to fortify the border better than Trump's wildest dreams, right? Well, it turns out no. The good news, though, is that it looks like the bill is dead. 19 GOP senators have said that they would vote against it, and Mitch McConnell said it's DOA. But I think it still illustrates some important points, so let's break it down. Of that $118 billion, $60 billion would have gone to Ukraine. So over half the total money in the border bill would go to defend someone else's border. On the bright side, Zelensky could finally afford to add another Y to his name, or get himself some matching green socks. And that's not all. Another $14 billion would go to defending Israel's border. Yes, this border. Meanwhile, in the US, we'd be lucky to get a border wall made of matzah. Israel is a first world nation with a high GDP and major military technology. They've got everything they need to defend the most important thing in the country, Yoram Hazony's house. There was even $10 billion set aside for humanitarian aid to Gaza. I'm sure that will get where it needs to go. And then for our border, $20 billion. And even that would probably just go to throwing rose petals at the migrants' feet as they walk through. To put that in perspective, Ukraine would have gotten 3 times more money from this bill than we would. This is 2022 all over again. And no, I'm still not watching The Whale. But there's an interesting phrase in there. This bill would require DHS to, quote, nearly shut down the border if more than 5,000 migrants enter illegally per day on average. Well, hot dog, problem solved. Only 5,000 a day? That's only 1.8 million a year. Only 2 Wyoming's worth of people every 365 days. And what happens when they hit this cap? What do they mean by nearly shut down the border? One of the bill's sponsors, Chris Murphy, clarified. The border never closes, but claims must be processed at the ports. This allows for a more orderly, humane asylum processing system. Well, of course, we have to make the invasion more orderly. Reminds me of the time Stalin fought off the Germans by making them walk through turnstiles first. If these guys were in charge of the Titanic, they'd be figuring out how to give first-class tickets to the iceberg. But there's more. Illegal aliens not from Mexico or Canada won't be counted toward total encounters. Good thing nobody's coming from any other country.
Ghana. You're from Ghana. Okay. You're from Haiti.
From China?
Also, the bill would allow the president to stop this cap at any point. So the 1.8 million number isn't even real. There would be no cap on how many people can come through the border, which explains Biden's new campaign poster. Really desperate for that Zoomer vote. Also, there's not 1 penny for any kind of enhanced physical barrier at the border. No wall, no fence, not even a little shrub they'd have to hop over. I won't go into all the detail here, but America First Legal did a good Twitter thread on it, and R.N. McIntyre's stream on it was excellent as usual. But Dan Crenshaw has been having a bit of a meltdown pushing it, and Biden gave a speech about the bill and showed why he wanted it to pass.
I'm wearing my Ukraine tie, my Ukraine pin.
Looks like Biden got a hold of Jordan Peterson's guy. And now that the bill is dead, he's blaming Republicans for not letting them fix the border crisis.
Every day between now and November, the American people are going to know that the only reason the border is not secure is Donald Trump and his MAGA Republican friends.
But the White House could close the border now if they wanted to. There are laws on the books, but they're actively ignoring them. They're acting mad about this bill dying, but this could have been the plan from the start. The border is an embarrassment to the regime, so maybe they put together a bill that they knew wouldn't pass. Now that it's dead, they can blame Republicans for the border. It also could be that they were trying to make this bill irresistible to their peers by putting as much Ukraine funding as possible.
I do the same thing with my dog, to get him to take his heartworm medicine.
But before you get too excited about DC Republicans shutting down this bill, they couldn't even manage to impeach their guy who's supposed to be taking care of the border, Homeland Security Secretary and angry ping-pong ball, Alejandro Mayorkas. They brought charges of willful and systemic refusal to comply with federal immigration law and lying to Congress about the border being secure. But 4 Republicans voted no to the impeachment, with one saying that impeaching him would set a dangerous new precedent. Oh no, if we impeach them for good reasons, they might impeach us for bad reasons. Imagine if something like that were to happen. Some folks are predicting that we'll end up getting some slightly less awful version of this coming through. But slightly less awful than this is still pretty bad. I just hope Ukraine and Israel are going to be okay until then. Israel only gets $3.3 billion from us every year, and Ukraine has only gotten $100 billion from us so far, bless their hearts. Next thing you know, Zelensky will be reduced to dancing in the subway for singles. Poor guy.